The story that I'm going to tell you today might not mean anything to you at first, but at the end, I'll show you how it connects to all of us. Imagine you're alone in a dark red cave with only the sound of rushing thick air. You see a tiny black speaker above you to the right and notice a hanging sign, right atrium. But your eye catches a movement behind the sign. The wall of the cave is moving. You squint, just to make sure. And that's when you realize your mom was right about sleeping being important. You shake it off and begin your journey. As you walk, you start to feel air pressure building up against you, and you find it difficult to walk at a normal pace. Suddenly, this is your tour guide speaking. Please be prepared for the P wave through the tricuspid. Those of you unable to handle the high pressure will have their remains deposited effectively. Before you have time to comprehend what that meant, you hear a deep-throated rumble, and the walls suddenly give a huge inwards contraction. The pressure of the air is so strong it flings you to the ground and you start rolling. You try to get up, but you can't stand without falling, so you have no choice but to run. The cave seems to be getting darker with every step, and up ahead you see 3 bony white structures, and beyond that is black. You're running closer to this black darkness, this nothingness, and it hits you. You're about to fall down a hole, and your remains will be deposited somewhere. You decide to grab onto those white structures, but just as you reach, you feel the most intense pressure of air, and it throws you into the black darkness, and you're falling. You're falling into this pitch black hole when, we are ventricularly pleasant to have you here. Please keep your screaming to a minimum. You scream. And you think of how you were so sure you were going to win the lottery this time. And you think of how this has to be Inception, and you're actually Leonardo DiCaprio, and all the while you're screaming until there's suddenly air pressure beneath you, and you're floating. You stop screaming, breathe, and open your eyes, which you hadn't even realized were closed. It's not pitch black anymore. The walls are dark red again. You look up and vaguely see the 3 bony white structures begin to interlace, closing the hole from which you fell. The air pressure beneath you is getting stronger, and you begin to rise, and you notice a white blur on the opposite side from which you fell. Prepare to experience the QRS through the semilunar. Once again, to those of you who will not be able to handle the pressure, your remains will be deposited effectively. Before you have a chance to curse at the voice, the walls suddenly contract inwards and you're shot upwards. Your eyes can't adjust to such speed, and all you see is the dark red color of the hole disappear, the darkness appear, a glimpse of sudden white, and you're speeding through another red tunnel. You're going faster and faster until your body's being curved and forced horizontally when suddenly there's no pressure, and you drop onto the ground in a new tunnel. It's silent. You get up while touching the wall, realizing that this tunnel is probably 100 times smaller than the previous. The wall suddenly pushes you inwards, and the floor moves upwards in a wave-like motion, sending you a few feet forward. The walls will constrict and dilate as necessary to get you moving towards the sphincter. A continuation of wall-floor waves sends you more and more forward. You don't pay attention to this odd feeling of resistance against you, though, because sphincter sounded pretty Egyptian to you, so now you're a little excited at the possibility of approaching something grand and something really big. A few feet later, and you're crawling. The tunnel got smaller. Now you know sphincters have nothing to do with Egyptians. You approach a door-like structure that is closing the tunnel route, but you notice it's slowly deflating, creating a little gap. You crawl through and gasp. There are so many doors and people. You want to talk to someone, but your eye catches the transparency of the wall. You put your face and hands to the light red wall and you see tunnels, hundreds of tunnels, and people crawling through these tunnels and talking and laughing, and you're just so happy you survived and you're not a pile of remains. So how does this story apply to all of us? Well, we just traveled through our hearts. We traveled starting through the right atrium of our heart, through the tricuspid valve, into the right ventricle, through the pulmonary semilunar valve, into the pulmonary artery, through an arteriole, through a capillary, where if you had entered one of those hypothetical doors, you would have been at the gas exchange site of your lungs. The human body's fascinating, but many people don't find science and subjects outside of their field exciting unless it's presented in interesting ways. I think sharing information with stories or with an adventure-like twist can apply to all fields of education. And by doing so, I believe people, especially children, would be motivated to learn more, and we would have a lot more unique perspectives to discuss, rather than, so, the weather looks nice today. Thank you.